Welcome to the Emotional and Mental Health Summit. My name is Dolores Andrew Gavin and I'm your host. I am the founder of The Mythic Fairy, a dedicated children's website for all things emotional health. I'm also the author of 2 children's books, an empowerment and assertive coach, a podcaster, blogger and mum. I have 2 reasons, I guess, for doing this summit and bringing it together. And firstly, it's to support the whole conversation that's already there around emotional and mental health. And secondly, I also want to bring tools to people to show them that, I suppose, firstly, that there are tools that we can use to help us, whether that be learning something like emotional freedom technique or helping ourselves to step into our power by finding our voice. There are lots of different tools I'll share on this summit from the speakers that will be speaking. And also, of course, you also will hear from people who have been on a journey themselves. So it's always good to know that we're not alone and that others have travelled the same path possibly as ourselves. I hope that you enjoy the summit. Thanks for being here. Hello and welcome back to the Emotional and Mental Health Summit. I'm your host, Dolores Andrew Gavin, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Derek O'Kelly, who is a wellbeing and performance coach and the author of A Quick Start Guide to Self-Care and Wellbeing. He's also the founder of the Winning Minds movement, which is a social initiative, and I'll get Derek to tell you a little bit more about that himself. And he's also passionate about coaching, speaking, writing and researching, and is a qualified teacher and a sports psychologist and mental wellbeing coach. So he's currently studying applied neuroscience and brain health. And it's another thing that we're going to have a chat about as well during the course of the interview. So Derek's core belief is education empowers. And that's what I like about this interview and why I wanted to bring it to you is because, you know, the essence of this summit is to bring tools for people to help them with their emotional and mental health. And on that note, let's talk to the man himself. You're welcome, Derek.
Thanks very much, Dolores. It's a pleasure to be part of this fantastic initiative that you have. And I look forward to sharing some tools and tips and things.
And you sure have those, and you have them because I've heard you speak before, and that's why I'm delighted to have you on, because you gave a very interesting talk at Emma Murphy's workshop in Galway that I was at, and it was wonderful. And you know, it's the tools that for people so that they can actually go, gosh, you know, I could do that too. You know, I can learn something. So without further ado, I suppose, I know that you believe that people can achieve positive emotional health through a self-coaching approach, is what you say. For example, they take control of their emotional health with a little time, commitment, some coaching and tools. Derek, tell us more how you got on this journey of well-being.
Yeah, I mean, I think people sometimes don't realise the potential that they have within, and I think it's always good to take a couple of minutes to reflect and think about. Sometimes when I'm talking about this, I call it kind of superpowers, and these superpowers that people have within. And once somebody just gives them a little bit of guidance, a little bit of information, they're well capable of managing their own physical and mental health. Assuming, of course, we're talking non-clinical here. Sure. People that are in a reasonably good place, but maybe want to know a bit more how to maintain it, some tools and techniques, and maybe even to move beyond well-being and maybe, even perform better, whether that be in their life, their career, or their work. And on that note, if you don't mind, I'll just share with your
sure, yeah, please do.
With your viewers a kind of a tool that I use. I actually started off using this tool with young people, so kind of transition year and leaving cert students, and it actually turns out that adults love this as well. And when you sit down, they're a little bit resistant initially, but you have a bit of fun with it.
Of course.
Start getting them to jot down their strengths, their skills, their achievements, their experience. And it's a great mood. It's a great mood booster, and it's a great tool for reflecting on as well. Looking back on when maybe you're not feeling great, and just reminding yourself, "This is who I am." this is what I've achieved, this is what I've done, this is what I'm capable of. And with them being at the centre of the picture, and I suppose, you know, the title of this was kind of the art and science of communication, or well-being and performance and coaching. And this is a bit of the art side of it. So I'll just share this.
Great.
There's a lot in it, a lot to take in. But yeah, so if you imagine, a lot of the blanks are filled in. Well, they're nearly all filled in. So imagine if they were all blank, and you start getting people to think about, you know, how good they are, skills they have, strengths they have, and then they have all this stuff within. So, you know, they have values, they have commitment, they have intelligence, they have strengths, they have compassion, they have confidence, they have energy, they have belief. And they've all this stuff going on inside them, and they actually don't, you know, they don't really realise it, or don't take the time to kind of reflect on it. So yeah, that's one of the things I use, and that's just following on from your questions, that I 100% believe that people can self-coach themselves towards physical and emotional well-being.
And that's brilliant, isn't it? Because you're, as you say yourself, you're getting people to put themselves at the centre and talk about things that they have done, which we don't often give ourselves a lot of time, I suppose. With everyday life, we have a tendency to have more negative self-talk and think about the things that we can't do or should have done, rather than, you know, reflecting on the wonderful stuff that we actually have done. Because everybody, no matter where they are, will have great words, I'm sure, to put in those bubbles. So,
yeah, I mean, it's important for people to, I suppose, to understand as well. I suppose negative thoughts or negative emotions get a lot of bad publicity, but in actual fact, everyone has them. They're a normal thing, and in many ways, they're healthy. So no emotion should be disregarded.
no.
You know, or no thought should be kind of disregarded, particularly if it's starting to affect your feelings. So I think it's okay. I know there's a kind of a saying out there, it's okay to be not okay. But what does that really mean, you know? Well, it means it's okay to have negative thoughts. It's okay to have negative self-talk. But it's just a matter of being aware and being able to recognise when it tips over into maybe kind of the unhealthy side of negativity.
That's a great point, Eric, and it's true. You know, we are talking about emotions, because I would deal a lot with emotions, and, you know, describing them as messenger molecules, and anger telling us that our personal boundaries being rattled. They're just messages for us.
Yeah, I love that because, you know, I've become a little bit uncomfortable in the last 2 or 3 years with this whole way of classifying emotions into negative or positive.
No such thing as a negative emotion.
Sorry?
No such thing as a negative emotion.
No. And I think what, you know, particularly for young people and adults as well, that once we start using the word negativity, there's a bit of a taboo attack. And young people might pick it up as to, oh, well, this is negative. I don't think I should talk about this. This is not good. If I'm being negative, that means I'm not being positive. And they might build up these negative emotions inside them. They end up not talking about them, and that's when the tipping point starts. So I'm more inclined to try and think of, instead of thinking negative or positive, thinking them as being informative. So in other words, they're there to inform us of how we're feeling at any one particular point. They're like messengers. You could also look at them as being doctors and nurses of your internal environment. You can look at them as defenders, protectors, celebrators. You can also look at them as superpowers. And this is another way of maybe walking through it with children or young people, you know, making them aware that they have these superpowers, and maybe having a conversation about them. And I'm completely in tune with
Yeah, I love that actually. The
Your
superpower.
approach to it, your approach to it.
Great. Sounds great. I like that the way you said that actually as a defender, because yeah, you could have anger really as coming up to anger does come up to sort of protect us when our personal boundary has been rattled, or when we feel our power has been taken from us or whatever. It could be anger that comes up. So it's great to teach a child look at it as a defender as opposed to a negative emotion.
Yeah, and I suppose talking about it, I mean, the science is amazing that's there now, whether it be the neuroscience or the positive psychology science. So all of that is brilliant. And we need to know that, people who are coaching like myself, or people who are teaching or who are educating others, they really must have a deep understanding of what's going on. However, it really comes into its own when we bring it into an art form. So in other words, how can we make this fun? How can we make it playable? How can we make it even enjoyable to be able to talk about emotions? You can do that through play. I mean, I know you've had Fiona Foreman on from
Yes.
We Even Wellbeing, and my God, look at what that woman has done. That's pure art. Like, so what she's doing in schools with programs, that is the essence of art. In relation to building resilience and teaching young people about their emotions and their mental skills as well.
Yeah, because they're entwined, really, aren't they? I mean, like this thing about, how did it become a fact that there even is a stigma? I was talking to Barbara Brennan about that. We didn't, like she was saying, like we were not born thinking like, oh, having this idea, even like our physical health, we don't have the same stigma attached to it. But with mental health, our mental health, which we all have, it's
Yeah,
amazing how it has got such a bad rap.
yeah. I mean, it's a complicated debate. However, um, a lot of it has been, I believe, in any way, driven by the environment and media, mainstream media, social media. That every time, for some reason, mental health is mentioned, it's a negative
Yeah,
connotation. And
absolutely.
really, like you said, it shouldn't be. However, that's the way it is, and that's a fact. So it's trying to look at innovative ways outside of the medical model, to try and help people get to grips with the mental and emotional skills that can help them thrive. And I suppose neuroscience kind of backs up or supports the theory that emotions don't work on their own. Like, they're very much integrated with how we think, the external world, our biology, and all that then kind of feeds into to the emotions. So mental health, when we talk about emotional health, it's very hard for practitioners in any way, or coaches, and people like yourself who understand. It's very hard to try and explain it to someone without actually explaining. There's a cognitive process here as well. There's a thought process. There's something happening in the environment, or there's something happening within your biology, maybe. So yeah. While I like the conversation of emotions, it's hard to separate it from what else is going on.
Absolutely. So, Derek, how did you, yeah, your Winning Minds movement, and is that something that, I know that's something that's you've been ongoing with yourself? I mean, you go to schools yourself, and you've been teaching children for a long time. I know you showed us some great, very simple tools in Galway. You just made things simple, and I think that's a skill in itself, because we can, like, neuroscience is wonderful, but to try and bring that level of understanding to younger people even isn't, it's not that easy. But you used tools there, you were very visual. I can't remember
Yeah.
exactly what they were. So is that the sort of work that you do with your Winning Minds initiative?
Well, with the Winning Minds initiative, I have been doing a lot of kind of, I suppose you could say, giving back in the community, pro bono work, and some of that has been in schools. But I've also been doing it with parents, with community groups, with women's groups, and then just mixed groups like the one we done in Galway. I've also been working with companies, organisations, small businesses, So I've been piloting research and developing a lot of materials through the Winning Minds platform in the last 2.5 years. And I suppose I think what we have to try and do is with these emotional and mental skills. I think what we have to try and do is, I mean, we owe a huge debt to the experts we have in this country. The doctors, the scientists, the neuroscientists who have, gifted us with this kind of information as to what's going on, biology-wise, psychology-wise, neuro-wise. However, I believe we need to try and pull that from kind of academia and the medical world and bring it to grassroots. I think that's one of the big challenges that we face. And part of that is pitching the information to where people is at and helping them to understand in a very basic and simplistic way. Number one, here's what's going on. Here's what happens in your mind, in your body when certain things happen. And this is how you can try to cultivate and manage these things that are happening. So to do that in a tangible and concrete way it's kind of challenging, but I'm kind of lucky enough as well that I have an educational psychology background. So for the last 22 years, I've been an educator in the adult sector, and part of that has been studying educational psychology and science and how does the brain learn? How does it like to learn? How does it remember? How does it recall? What gives it its best memories? So as someone needs to sit an exam, how do they recall that information? And so I would have applied that in the company, the training company I had. I would apply them methodologies very much towards the learning of physical skills. So in other words, the company I have, we train hairdressers, beauticians, makeup artists, massage therapists, and they need to sit exams. They're international exams, so it's trying to prepare them as best as possible for that.
Oh, right. That's to the Waverley Academy.
Yeah. I suppose probably one of the greatest discoveries I made through educational psychology is that if you can change how people feel in a learning environment, you can actually change their learning and academic outcomes, which means you can potentially enhance their career and work-related outcomes. So in other words, my kind of expertise is in the adult education sector. A lot of people who would have came through our college would be maybe have kind of low confidence and self-esteem because of previous learning experiences, didn't think they might be able to learn. And I discovered very quickly that if you can build their confidence and self-belief, it affects the performance in relation to skills, techniques, and how they actually conduct and how they perform in exams, and it raises the levels. Now, taking that, I suppose, 22 years of applying them principles, I now want to apply them principles to the learning of mental and emotional skills. So in other words, how do we make people feel that I can do this, I can learn this, even though it's to do with my brain and emotions and stuff that maybe is only for the medical world or the academic world. I can do this. This is basic enough. Once I understand the internal workings, I can enhance or influence or impact the outcomes of mental and emotional and well-being. So sorry if I went off on them.
No, that's great. It's all very. It's very interesting. I mean, it's great to see how you have put it all together, and that is, you've been working hard, and you've been studying hard, and all the various things that you've done are all coming together to have you where you are, obviously. So have you any tools that you'd like to share with us that you could tell people even about, like that whole feeling realm and the cognitive?
Yeah. So in showing these kind of tools, just bear in mind they're taken from. It's kind of like I kind of see myself now as like an educational distiller, and taken taken stuff from the various fields of neuroscience, educational psychology, positive psychology has really come into its own in the last 10 years. So anything I show people or say to people is evidence-based. I'm not making this up. And this is what I discovered as well in the, I suppose, couple of years that I've been mental well-being exploring, so to speak. So looking at best practice in mental well-being. So here we go. We'll share one or two of these. Okay, so this is one in relation to some of the probably four of the main functions in the brain, which I call team brain, and it's thoughts, emotions, actions, and memory. And this can be the most powerful tool on the planet when they're all playing well. So when they're all in sync. So if people think of this acronym, and if they're not feeling well, or if they're not feeling good, or if they want to feel better, it's these four main kind of processes or functions in the brain and mind that they need to affect. So that's their thoughts, emotions, actions, and memory. So I use that when I'm teaching. I do some kind of brain training, and it's a fun way to kind of try and help people understand a complicated topic. One of the other ones is
team brain. I'll have to remember that one. Yes, it's when it is all working together, as you say, what a powerful team it is.
Yeah. And in relation to how people might manage their emotional well-being, if they think of ARM as an acronym for awareness, reactions, and management. So in other words, the first phase is to become aware of your emotions and how they're affecting you. The second thing is to, I suppose, be aware of your reactions. And it's really your reactions to the emotions that gives you the outcome, which is the feelings. So, the way you react can be modified or modulated to, in most cases, give you the feeling that you want. And then that tips into the management and the things. In other words, if you can learn how to manage your emotions, well, you'll achieve a lot in this life, from health to happiness.
So I suppose you're talking about there, like, is it to go through people if they're going through a situation, you ask them first to become aware of what emotion they're feeling, and then how they react, note how they react, and then manage it if they want to get a different outcome.
Yeah, so it's a bit to do. There's a couple of things mixed in there with kind of, I suppose you could say, holistic well-being. And you make a good point there. So it's to do with reflection as well. So, like having a reflection journal. So, what was that emotion? How did I react to it? And how did that make me feel? So in other words, am I happy with that reaction? And then deciding, well, maybe in future I need to manage it in a different way. And hopefully some of the things that I go on to now will maybe, help people to manage. So I'll get rid of that one. And now... these are some of the the techniques and tools for cultivating and managing emotions. And people are going to be looking at these and saying, I've kind of heard of them before. Well, believe it or not, these are 5 of the techniques or tools from around the world. These are globally nearly agreed upon that you can work towards cultivating and managing emotions through breathing.
So these are tools that you can say to people, this is ways that they can actually manage their emotions.
Yeah, and the reason I've put them 5 up there, the top 5, and why, is because they're nearly globally agreed. They cost nothing. You can do them in a couple of minutes, and they're incredibly effective. So they're simple, they're easy to understand, and they're extremely effective. And I don't think people realise that the power of music. So it could be music. You can use music for various, I suppose you could say, moods. it can help you relax. It can help you become upbeat. It can help you in performance. Music is a very, very powerful tool for managing.
Absolutely.
And the movement one there, that's actually related to, I suppose you could say, exercise, but this word movement is slowly but surely creeping in, as opposed to exercise or physical activity, which to some people can sound like hard work. Whereas if you use the word movement, it can mean dance, it can mean gardening, it can mean going to the shops.
Great. That's good to hear, actually, that it doesn't have to be something there. Again, they're easy tools that you're giving people to do, move in whatever way you can.
1 minute today, each of them, 1 day a week, you're well on the way to building very healthy habits. And the last one there is an acronym, STOP. So this is one for maybe when you're being a bit overwhelmed, or you're trying to problem solve. And the STOP stands for self-talk, optimism and positivity. So in other words, what are you saying to yourself in your mind? Are you being kind to your mind? Are you being realistic? Then there's the optimism. So in other words, optimism is a kind of mental attitude of hope and belief. So in other words, okay, things may not be great at the moment, but there's better days and there's better ways. And then positivity in itself, positivity is a tool. I don't think people should see it as a way of life, because I don't think that's healthy either, to be trying to be positive all the time. But, there is times, and, positivity works in negative times, so to speak, because it can be a solution-focused method of trying to think your way out of problems.
Absolutely, that's great. They're great ways. They're all simple ways. And they're all free.
They're free
that we can do.
Yours, you can do them anytime you want. They take a minute or two, and I guarantee you, once you start doing them, you will want to be doing them more. And you might just choose one or two of them that works for you.
Great.
So that's the techniques and tools. Something else that people underrate a lot, or doesn't get enough of good publicity, is analogies. So again, this comes from the world of educational psychology and trying to create analogies. It's like scaffolding in the world of educational psychology. It's called scaffolding. So in other words, building upon something that people already know to help them to grasp a topic. So when we talk about maybe the teaching of emotions, just an example, if you were to think of animals and maybe explain emotions like an emotional horse. So you see the person on this horse and they're just plodding along nice and gracefully. So that's when everything is emotionally in tune. But what happens if the horse bolts? How do you manage the horse then? How do you calm him back down? So that's an analogy using. And then you can do that with art. You can have an emotional palette. So in other words, there's several colours in the palette, and you might want to label an emotion with a colour. And I think Fiona Foreman mentioned about kind of naming and taming, which again there's neuroscience to back that up, that if you can actually label or name the emotion and start to talk about it.
And is that by colour you're saying there, or the
yeah, colour? You could have an emotional palette which would have 4 or 5 colours in it, and you might be able to get your child, it'd be cognition based, of course, and cognition appropriate and age appropriate, but you could be explaining that they have a palette and there's 4 or 5 colours in it, and maybe today you kind of reacted in this way. Would you like to associate a colour with that reaction? So then that reaction or that emotion, say, becomes red. So then you can start talking about red as opposed to talking about an emotion which a young child or young person.
And that really becomes, maybe then, does it sort of, I suppose, I think once you start talking about an emotion, it really puts a distance between it too, doesn't it? You're not in it all the time. You're putting that space between it, so that I think sometimes that can actually take the charge away from some of the more emotions that we don't want to feel, like anger maybe, or sadness, or whatever.
Yeah, and so it goes back to that whole thing of trying to make them comfortable with these emotions. So how do we, how do we get that across to them? Again, are they superpowers? These are actually okay, and it's good to talk about them. But I think really the emotion is an umbrella term, whereas I think we need to talk about the feelings more so than the emotion. I think we need to get a bit more granular when it comes to the feelings. So in other words, how are you feeling? And then they explain some sort of a feeling, and then you can delve into that a little bit more. And you can use that analogy with nature, like an emotional garden, technology, so a phone and the apps. So you have certain apps on your phone which could relate to emotions. And do you like this emotion? Is this an app that you want to keep? Do you want to get rid of it? Do you want to download another emotion? And then you can do it through sport. And the actual last one there, the water, is an interesting one, because you can make them the captain of their own ship, and the ship sails in calm waters. And how does that feel? But what happens when the ship hits adversity? So it hits choppy waters. How do you think you might react in that situation? So yeah, analogies are a very powerful.
That's lovely. I love those, actually. They're very interesting. Listen to you here talking about them, and they're all very, gosh, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is the art. This is the art, as I see it, and it's an area I love, because I think once you start playing with these things, you take them out of the medical and the academic world, and you bring them to a level of where people are at. And probably I'll give you one more, which is one of the ones I kind of use myself, and I think it's a good acronym, and it does repeat some of the stuff I've said, but the acronym itself is BEST, BEST, which stands for breathing, exercise, sleeping, and talking. And if you're doing them four things and using them in a healthy way, you will go a long, long way to good, positive, emotional health. And the talking one can mean self-talk. So in other words, what are you saying to yourself? Or it can mean, are you at a point where you might need to talk to someone else? Or even if you're not, at a point where you're kind of feeling down, but talking and connections and support have huge evidence base, not alone in emotional health, but in longevity as well. In other words, you can increase your lifespan by making connections, having social supports, and talking. So
I love that. And, yeah, they're great. I could listen to those forever. Love it.
Yeah. And I would say to people, just before we finish up, don't forget you are a superhero. You do have all these powers inside you, and just take the time, take a couple of minutes out to practice one of them techniques. Maybe the mindfulness one is a great way to actually reflect on. And particularly if you're a parent, particularly parents, they undersell themselves a lot and what they have done in life, and the skills like they've had, and the resilience and the strength that they've needed to bring a child into the world is I can't think of anything which is more kind of powerful, but also challenging. So it's reflecting on all the skills and then mapping them skills to maybe even career choices and emotional well-being.
Wonderful. So, Derek, where are you going from here with all this more study you're doing with neuroscience?
Well, the neuroscience study finishes in about 2 or 3 weeks. So once I get that finished, I want to apply a lot of what I've learned. And I have been doing some of it already, but in a more kind of in a more formal way. So coaching companies, organizations, people and to do some pro bono work as well, some voluntary work, particularly with parents and women's groups who are actually very powerful people to have and to learn from as well. So I suppose coaching is where my heart is at now,
Right.
towards well-being and performance.
And are you a personal coach? You do one-to-one coaching with people as well,
Yeah,
do you?
I do one-to-one coaching. I've done an awful lot of it over the years, particularly in helping build people's careers and businesses. But it's just I was very caught up in the company I was in a number of roles, and I've stepped back from one or two of them roles. So yeah, I hope to move on to the personal, to the life, the business, and the company coaching and giving back as well, and doing some pro bono work. Yeah, I'm writing one or two more books actually.
Great. And so if actually people wanted to get hold of your book, how is the best place, and is the best place for people to get in contact with you yourself, even if they wanted to?
Well, if they go to the winningminds.ie website, and there's D.O. Kelly Coaching is there, and then there's a shop where they can. The book is just $4.99. It's based on my exploits as a mental wellbeing explorer, and taking all the good bits from the experts and around the world. So people can get up and running.
Okay, so what sort of things will they find in it? Are there more tools in it like that you've shared with us today?
Yeah. It's titled A Quick Start Guide to Self-Care and Wellbeing, because from all the research I've done with over about 800 people, and when we talked about wellbeing, and number one, people are overwhelmed with actually what wellbeing even means, but they understood self-care. So there was a lot of stuff about confidence, stress, strength, skills. People didn't understand what they were. So I've put all that into an easy to understand format. It's a quick read. It's designed for mobile devices, and it's I think it's $4.99 or something.
Great stuff. And then they can also find you to do, if they want you to do some coaching, maybe in company even, or one-to-one, they go to winningminds.ie as well, and they can
and there's a tab there for D.O. Kelly Coaching.
Brilliant.
And then there's a contact us tab as well, and they can get me through that as well.
Is there anything you'd like to leave us with, Derek?
Be kind to your mind.
Love it.
Yeah, huge power in it. So it just goes back in a lot of things that I said: reflection, being nice to yourself, gratitude, compassion, and be kind to your mind. We're always, like you said earlier, we're a bit hard-worded as well to kind of think. I suppose you could say in a negative or protective way, and I think it's time to start looking at what's strong, not what's wrong.
Say that again. Give us that once more.
Yeah, it's another one I like. It's not mine now. I picked it up somewhere along the way in the mental wellbeing exploits. But focus on what's strong, not what's wrong. Love
it actually, because I love that when I'm working with people as well. I love to bring out the strengths, and even actually with my teenage son, sometimes I think you can see a pattern. Like, let's say I'm going to take maths as an example, and it was after having a conversation with his teacher as well, and it would be like sometimes we look at what we potentially feel we're weak at, and we put so much energy into it, and sometimes we can be as well off to focus on our strengths and to excel in those. Now, it doesn't mean that we let things that we feel we're less good at alone, but we don't have to always focus on the weakness. It's looking at our strengths and focusing on that. So I love that, Derek.
Yeah. Well, that's the system that we're in. That's the system we're up in. It's like, well, okay, what's wrong? We need to get that right.
What's broken? Who's broken? And none of us are broken, and we don't need anything.
Yeah, and it's just trying to get people to say, okay, yeah, there may be certain things need to be fixed, but let's take a rain check here and look at everything you've achieved. And you can say that to your son, you know what I mean? Look at everything you've achieved to date, and it will be okay. Everything will be okay.
That's wonderful. Gosh, yeah, it started off with you saying you having that the belief in ourselves and that we can achieve positive emotional health. So you've given us we've had the time here, we've committed, if anyone's, people listening to these calls are committing to listen to them. They've taken the time to listen to them. We've definitely got some education, and you've certainly shared tools with us, Derek. So
can I just mention
sure.
just very quickly, Dolores, you know, I like, while I've done a lot of study, there's people been around many more years than me who I've learned from and followed on Twitter, went to some of their seminars. Some of the experts in this country, that I would highly recommend people seek them out on social media. They're giving information away free. They're absolutely tops in the fields in the world, don't mind Ireland. I just have a few names here: Dr. Harry Barry, Dr. Eddie Murphy, Dr. Paul Gilligan, Professor Jim Lucy, Dr. Sabrina Brennan, and Dr. Mally Coyne, who I believe is down your way in Galway.
That's right, she is.
She's a tremendous worker.
She is.
And has done a lot of work in particularly early childhood, emotional bonding.
So I have an interview actually with Mally on my website, on my YouTube channel. I interviewed Dr. Mally Coyne for my last summit 2 years ago. So it was a phenomenal interview. Yes, talking about the neural pathways and how they get reformed and that. And it was a wonderful, if anyone is interested in infant mental health, it's a great call. She shares so much nuggets of information. So thank you very much for mentioning those other experts as well that people can go and look at, because
these people have spent decades educating themselves and bringing this.
As you have yourself, Derek.
But I would be,
you're modest.
I'd be very complimentary of these people.
Of course.
They've spent, 10, 20 years becoming experts at what they're experts at, and they're sharing information for free. And they do a lot, they do a lot of voluntary work for charities. So I think, I think they should be mentioned.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the interview, Derek, and thanks so much for sharing all the tools. And I'll be directing people to your website anyway. There'll be a button for people to look further into the work you do, and to, if they wish to get your book or to work with you, the link will be there.
Thanks for everything, Dolores.
Not at all, Derek. It's a pleasure. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye.